through my first divorce. Like, even though I knew it was coming, we both know, which we talk about, we're friends now, we both knew that it wasn't going to last. But when it ended, it was still, I felt like I was trying to hold my breath and concentrate on my breath while in the eye of the storm, but I wasn't able to handle it. And I went off the track, I lost my mind. I lost myself. I wasn't doing things that made me happy. I was lost in the storm of what was happening in our divorce, and that the fact that it was happening. And even though I knew it was coming, even though we both knew it was coming, and there was no avoiding it, it still, when it happened, it literally took me to a tailspin that took me, years to recover from and get back from. So do you think the ayahuasca trip helped you get through your divorce, tough time in your life, kind of what you were looking for?
Yeah.
Is that the reason you did it? Or was this just a personal goal of yours?
Well, yeah, it was kind of both. I was hoping to derive a number of things from it. One was, like I said before, to engage in that whole ancient civilization alien thing, which I did for sure, and I don't regret that. So that whole element of it, and in the end of it, at the end of the retreat, we ended up doing Machu Picchu. So I got to go to Agua Caliente, which is the little town at the bottom of the mountain where Machu Picchu is, and go up there, and we had a guided tour, and it was, so it was a cap to the whole thing, it was awesome. So that element of my trip was fulfilled completely. I couldn't have asked for a better situation. The ayahuasca side of it, absolutely. But my expectation wasn't the same. It was an unknown kind of thing. It's like, I've heard a lot about it. I don't know much about it. No matter how much you research it, you can spend your time reading every journal and every book and watch every video and watch actual people undergoing DMT and still have no idea what it is and what it's about until you actually physically do it.
So, Eric, you've been in military intelligence.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you decided you didn't want to go that route, right? You've been an English teacher, and you've got an English major.
Yeah.
And you've been an EMT.
Yeah.
And
certified too. I did take the test and passed.
NSA.
Well, yeah, military intelligence.
Oh, yeah, military intelligence.
So now you do marine carpentry.
Yeah.
Why did you decide, with all the options that you had laid out before you, to do what you're doing now?
Okay, so for example, when I was in the Army, right, this is a conversation I had multiple times with my dad. He's like, why don't you become a sergeant? I got out of the Army as an E4. So that's a specialist if you don't know, in the Army. So I turned down promotion to sergeant twice. I could have gone to PLDC, which is the leadership school that you need the class. It's a 30-day thing you need to go and do in order to become a sergeant. I turned it down twice. Why? Because I didn't want to be a sergeant. I saw too many guys around me who, just through the natural course of progression in their lives, would move from one step to the next, incorporating the next step without even thinking about it. So here I am, an E4, right? I do my job. I work 7 to 3:30. I get paid. I get a month's vacation. I'm in Maryland, and I'm in Germany. I'm in the culture. I can go off on the weekends. Dude, I would go to Munich and see Pablo Picasso exhibits. Just the stuff that I got to do is insane. I'm not in charge of anybody. I'm in charge of myself, and I don't have to engage in all this extra bullshit. No thanks. When I became a teacher, my dad, why don't you become an administrator? You make a ton of money. You earn every penny of that. And I like being a teacher. I'm in charge of 125, 130 kids. It's more than I would ever want to be in charge of normally, but in this case, it was an interesting dynamic, so I went with it. But why ruin that? Why add to that? I don't want to be an administrator. I don't want to be in charge of how all this works. I want to engage the students. When that experience ended, I was fine with it. It was good. Like I said, I just went to Texas and hung out with them for their 10-year reunion. No other teacher was there. Nobody else gave a shit. I don't know why I do, but these kids are awesome. These people were amazing people. And it's not a lie to say that I really, truly respected them, every one of them. They brought, now do I remember their names? Some of them I do, some of them I don't, unfortunately. But, the ones that were at the reunion, it was great. It was wonderful. And it was a completion of a whole thing that was set in motion 10, 13 years ago, 14 years ago. Crazy. You know what I mean? To me, that's amazing. EMT, I wanted to get the basics of medical treatment and knowledge down in case of an emergency, in case of the end of the world. Who the hell knows what's coming? But to know that if I have a friend who's injured, I know how to treat their injury. If a person's sick, I know how to treat that. If there's a calamity, I'm not useless. I'm not standing around. It's great. I love it. And it fulfilled its purpose. Working at Delta, what does that mean? So my wife... her dad was the lead there, and he got me the job there. And did I have a lot of experience? Not really. But he helped me, he guided me, and that was great. But the thing about where we work now is we're presented with a series of challenges that require both mind and body to accomplish. When you're an EMT, it's all like this hardcore physical, and you have these protocols. But someone's life is on the line, or someone's comfort or discomfort. If you screw up, you could kill somebody. That's pressure. I don't want that. If I'm an administrator, if I do something wrong, I could be screwing up a ton of kids, not just a classroom full of kids. I don't want that pressure. If I'm a sergeant and I make the wrong call, people could die. I don't want that pressure. I want to take care of myself, not all these other people. So Delta, where I'm at, what I do now is a very specific set of problems that require a very specific set of solutions that require me to use both my intellect and my physical capabilities to get it done in a balance that I'm comfortable with.
So you want to be responsible for yourself.
Yeah, and do a good job and have people say, wow, that's a really good job. And dude, I mean, think about it. We contribute to the production of $100 million yachts.
All right.
Dude, this is not low-end boat building. This isn't some hobby in some guy's garage. This is full-on billionaire-level production of specialized merchandise. That's badass. And we're linked to a history of boat building that goes back to the dawn of time. I mean, we're part of something that has a tradition to the Phoenicians, to the Egyptians, to the Greeks, to the Dutch, to the English, to the Spanish, and that all military might was consolidated into a boat. And now these people with more money than they know what to do with decide they want to spend money on a boat, and I get to help build that. And they're going to show this off to their friends like this is some badass thing. When we all know what's in a boat. I wouldn't buy it if I had the money. But these people don't give a shit. They're, look at this thing I got. And I'm helping to build that. That's kick-ass. And all of us, we do a great job. And it's a kick-ass thing. So there's a prestige element. There's a craftsmanship element. There's an engagement of both the mental and the physical that I like. That I've always tried to find that balance. It's brutal on the body, though. I mean, I'm limping around all the time, but come on.
I respect what you have to say because you're like power and money doesn't motivate you more than happiness or pride in what you do. And what we do is really cool. Like we do something that not many people can say they do.
But you know, ultimately, what I get to do is me, and that's the thing I've been working on my whole life is me. So I get to build something, I get to learn something, I get to experience something. Those are the things that matter. Because when we die, any of the physical shit that we think we own, we don't own anything. We don't own a damn thing. Nothing. Not a bottle cap, not a piece of paper, not a scrap. But the thing we own is the stuff that's inside of us. The experiences that we have, the knowledge that we have, the friendships that we have, the loves that we have, the tragedies that we experience, all those things are us. And the physical shit is meaningless. It truly is meaningless. Because when we're dead, it's a burden for your kids to have to wade through and deal with. It's not your shit.
I couldn't agree with you more. When you're on your deathbed or when you're having your life flash before your eyes, like, what are you going to be happy with yourself? You know,
Yeah.
Are you going to be happy with did you make as much money as you wanted to make? I don't think that's what I'm going to be thinking about. What I'm going to be thinking about is
because when you're dead, those bills aren't your problem anymore.
Did I? You know, how are my kids going to think of me and see me? You know, how is the world going to view me? How did I do what I wanted to do?
But the thing is, too, in 3 or 4 or 5 generations, in 100 years, who's going to know your name?
Your legacy is going to be dead.
Who's going to even know your
Nobody.
name? Nobody. So the only thing you have is what you create for yourself right now in this moment. And the only thing that you can truly have as your own is your experience.
Thank you for joining us, Eric.
Sure, yeah, my
pleasure,
pleasure, man.
You've been a great guest. A lot of great insight, great conversation, and I will let Pork Chop take us out.
Okay, so you can reach us on Facebook.com/Department of Labor and Beer, where you can follow us and you'll get new episodes every week. Patreon.com/Department of Labor and Beer if you'd like to donate to us and help us, get new stuff.
Look,
Website.
you're always going to get our
You're gonna get
podcast
free.
for free,
Yeah.
always. But if you like what we do and you want to support us somehow by helping out with our equipment or our beer money, to be honest.
Oh, yeah,
Feel-
sponsoring.
Feel
If we
free.
can get a brewery,
Feel
that'd be
free
awesome.
to
Fill up the
go to
fridge.
our Patreon page that Pork Chop just mentioned. If not, we are happy to keep you as a client,
A listener.
And
as a
so
listener.
and so we get it. So we know, like, not everybody can afford to donate, and that's totally fine. We get it. I don't donate to most of mine, but if you could find a minute to give us a rating on, say, iTunes or whatever, it really helps us on the business end. And to facilitate that, to give you a little bit of payback, if you guys give us a 5-star review, you can write whatever you want in there as long as it's not necessarily threatening or racist.
No, I will
But-
read everything. I
No.
will read everything.
For our own sake, we'll
But I
have
will say it's from this person.
Bowinski read it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All the 5-star reviews.
Yeah.
Bowinski's going to read it.
Whatever you want to say.
It
If
could
you
be a
give us
marriage proposal.
5-star review, I will read it.
You could, put something in there, in Bowinski's voice, whatever. You could say whatever you want. Just give us a 5-star review if you think we deserve it. If you don't think we deserve
No,
it,
it doesn't matter, dude. Just give us a 5-star review.
yeah.
Yeah,
well,
we deserve it.
We
but we do deserve
appreciate
it.
every
Come on.
single
don't
one
give
of you
me-
listeners.
But don't be a dick and give us a 1-star review just because,
That's rude.
I don't know.
I will hunt you down.
Well,
If you don't like it, you don't like it. That's fine. Don't be a dick about it.
the way that it works on iTunes and Stitcher and Spreaker is like these 5-star reviews get you up on a list so that more random people that we don't interact with will be able to possibly see our page or see our podcast. And so we would really appreciate it if you gave us a 5-star review. If not, no big deal. Just listen to our podcast as they come out.
Yeah.
Well, let me add one thing, though. The 5-star is definitely, I think, warranted, because what you guys are trying to do is tap into something that I think that everybody sort of understands but doesn't really engage, and that is people who work as blue-collar workers aren't dummies, aren't idiots, aren't low-end people. They all have something to offer, whether it's someone who has 2 degrees, worked for a national security agency, and is a teacher and all that kind of stuff, or whatever. Everyone who's blue-collar has a story that they want to share, and I think that this podcast taps into that, and I think it's worth supporting for sure.
And we have exceeded my expectations on what our guests have contributed to us.
Yeah, our
going
guests are
from
badass.
podcast number 1 with Mundo with the felony and working his way up, getting custody of his kids, blah, 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 and actually having another kid on the way and doing great with his life, Podcast number 2 with Jason Smith, not getting involved in the gang life and actually
What was
has
it?
kids,
If you
owns
look
a
at it-
condo.
Like I was trying to explain it to Bo, that's like 2 different paths. It's like one person went down the violent path and the other person steered away.
Right.
But they still came back through a path in the woods
Exactly.
to converge in the
And
same
then
place.
Podcast
Which is weird.
3 with the painter owner, Nick Myers.
Yeah.
He was so inspirational and positive.
Oh, yeah.
He had a positive outlook on everything. He says anything that's negative comes back to us in a positive way. So that was very helpful too. And then with your experiences that you've gone through everything, and you could have hit, how many roads could you have gone down with, And that's just based off your interest, and you just pursued your interest to make yourself better, or the experiences that you had, and you work with us.
Yeah.
It's like,
And I'm no better, and no one's no worse, and we all have something to add and something to share, and we're all on our own journey. So absolutely,
it's just crazy how everybody has a different story.
And
And it's like, it doesn't matter where you came from. You could, who knows? We might have a person that used to be rich, had a shit ton of money, lost it somehow, blew it somehow, and then working with us. Like, that'd be a fun episode too.
It doesn't matter how much money you have or where you came from. Everybody's got a character. Everybody's got a story. And that's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to give somebody that's, we're not famous. We're not rich. We're trying to give blue collar, everyday Americans a voice. And